Welcome again, everyone. Very happy to see you again. A week passed very fast, and it's Saturday again. Okay, so today we're going to explore a lot. Hopefully, we'll finish Dosamūla Citta, Mohamūla Citta, as well as looking at a little bit of the mental process as well. Okay, so let's start. I will share the screen now. So let's start with paying respect to the Buddha. We'll recite 3 times. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to the sublime, the victorious, and the totally self-enlightened one. Okay, today we will start with just a little bit of revision. Last week, we have finished the 8 kinds of Dosamūla Citta, the greed-rooted consciousness. And to the greed-rooted consciousness, there are 4 aspects to them. First one, lobha. Dosamūla Citta is always, of course, associated with lobha, with greed or attachment, and all the different shades of greed, from very little bit of liking until the very much obsession and all this. The range is very big, but all of these are called lobha here. And it can be accompanied by 2 types of mental feeling, with mental pleasure, somanassa, or with mental neutrality, uddhacca. And then it is also associated with or without ditthi, wrong view, and prompted or unprompted. So these are the 4 aspects of the Dosamūla Citta that we saw last week. And if we look at it at a table, then we can see the 8 kinds of Dosamūla Citta. 4 of them accompanied by mental pleasure, somanassa, and 1 with wrong view, unprompted, another one with wrong view, prompted. So with wrong view and without wrong view, as last time we have already explained, when a person, if he usually assumes that it's okay to do wrong, there is nothing wrong about doing wrong, in that case, that is called associated with wrong view. Then, but if a person, he knows that there is resultant, there is cause and effect. If I do bad, then bad result is going to happen. If he knows that, then it is called dissociated from wrong view. Okay, so that's with or without ditthi, prompted and unprompted. So that makes 4 citta already. Then the other group is basically the same, but this time accompanied by mental neutral feeling. So uddhacca, this person is not, he's wanting something, but not very like happily, like or very excited about wanting this thing. So he's accompanied by mental neutrality and associated with wrong view, prompted or unprompted, or dissociated with wrong view, prompted or unprompted. So here we have the 8 kinds of Dosamūla Citta that we have covered last week. So today we are going to another group. After the 8 Dosamūla Citta, we're going to the Dosamūla Citta. Okay, so with Dosamūla Citta, here also we have 3 aspects of hatred-rooted consciousness, translated as hatred here, dosa, or aversion sometimes. So we will see later on the different shades of aversion as well. So let's just take a look of the 3 aspects. As we said, all kinds of cittas always arise with a mental feeling. So here we also have mental feeling, and of course we have aversion. And the next aspect is whether it is unprompted or prompted, just like the Dosamūla Citta. Okay, about dosa, let's see what kind of Vedana, mental feeling, does it associate with. So we have somanassa, domanassa, and uddhacca, mental pleasure, displeasure, mental pain, and mental neutrality. Okay, let's think a little bit. With dosa, with aversion, do you think it is possible that it arises together with mental pleasure? Not possible, yeah? Yes. So somanassa is definitely does not arise together with dosamūla citta. Then how about displeasure? Yes, yeah. Okay. Well, even from the name, we can see dosa, domanassa, no? Like with an angry mind or a bad mind, aversion, no? So domanassa is possible. Then how about mental neutrality, uddhacca? Possible or not possible? Also not possible, yeah, not possible. Because one can never be angry or have aversion very neutrally. No, and then when one is angry. So it is not possible. So in this case, dosamūla citta only associate with domanassa, displeasure or mental pain. Okay, so that's the first aspect of the dosamūla citta, hatred-rooted consciousness. Then let's go to aversion itself. Now, aversion, sometimes dosa, this word can be translated as aversion, anger, hatred, and many different translations. But we have to understand, just like in the lobha group, from a very subtle kind of aversion, just like boredom, uneasiness, annoyance, dislike, resentment, irritation, repulsion, fear, then a higher degree of anger, detestation, hostility, ferocity, and rage or hatred. All of this different range are included here in dosa. So we have to understand that when this dosamūla citta arise, it doesn't really mean that the person must be very angry. Or he can be just, maybe he's afraid, or maybe he's just having some kind of boredom or uneasiness, or some kind of, I don't want this, or something like those kind are already included in dosa. Now, ancient teachers, they explain why dosa arise, why aversion, anger, or hatred can arise. There are a few reasons of why anger or dosa can arise. The first one, let's see. If a person, he has lobha, let's say this little boy, he wants to have these cookies, but he can't get it. And the next thing is, what happened? He gets angry because he wants something and he can't get it, then anger arises. But now here we have to be careful that lobha is one cittasika, no? Cittasika, one mental factor. Lobha never turns into dosa. Now, what we mean here is when lobha does not get what he wants, then the dosamūla citta, lobha wanting the cookie at that moment, then that citta arises and then it passes away. Then in the next mental processes, then dosa arises because lobha didn't get what it wants. So lobha didn't turn into dosa. Lobha is always lobha wanting the cookie. Now dosa is what? Dosa is he's angry because he couldn't get the cookie. So they are different, but lobha can be a reason for dosa to arise. Okay, another reason for dosa to arise, we can find this information in the Digha Nikaya as well as the Vibhanga, the second book of the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Now, when we are angry, what makes us angry? Why is a person angry? Because of a lot of thoughts, no? So what kind of thoughts? Let's see. If we think that he has done me harm in the past, he is doing me harm now, or he will do me harm in the future, because of this kind of thinking, anger arises in the person. Another type of thinking, then he has done in the past, he is doing in the present, he will do harm in the future to one who is dear and pleasant to me. When a person thinks this way, then anger also arises in him, dosa arises. And another type of thinking that he has done, he is doing, or he will do good to one who is not dear to me and one who is not pleasant to me. In this way, also with this kind of thinking, anger also can arise in a person. So not just only because he is not good to me, that he is not good to the ones that I love, but anger can also arise when we think that he is doing good to someone that I don't like. So this 9 kind of thinking is called the 9 grounds of ill will. With this kind of thinking, hatred or dosa arise. So that's another reason of why dosa can arise. Now let's see. There are also times that anger arises without a valid reason. That's called groundless anger. For example, when it is very hot, then we just say, this is so hot, and the person gets angry because it's so hot, or because it's so cold, and so we can get angry sometimes. But this is kind of without a valid reason. Hot is just hot, cold is just cold, but sometimes we can get angry. Then another example would be, I think maybe some of us might have this experience. I have myself. Say when we are walking and then we kick on the table, the leg of the table, and then we hit ourselves, and then we get angry. We're so angry, and then we kick the table or something. No, so this kind of anger arises without a valid reason. This is not reasonable, but sometimes it arises too. So those are the few kinds of reasons why anger can arise. Okay, now the characteristic of anger is destruction. When something is annoying, what anger wants to do with it is to destroy it. Yes, so anger wants to destroy the object of its anger. And sometimes it leads to violence and all this different degree of destruction. Okay, now, when one is angry, it is like striking someone or striking one's own mind with anger. Now, this is an explanation from Sayadaw Usilananda. When one is angry, it is like striking someone or striking one's own mind with anger. In the Dosamūla Citta, it is this word patiga is being used, associated with patiga. Patiga here means animosity, collision, or to strike. So we all have experience when we are angry. We want to destroy, we want to strike, we want to hit, we want to kick. And so all these things are associated with anger, with patiga. So patiga is also defined as a hostile attitude towards sentient being. It can be towards another person, towards an animal, towards beings, or towards a frustration. There's something that we want, but we don't get it, so we get frustrated. So we are angry about that, about what we can't get, and towards that which gives rise to one's frustration. It functions as a basis for fault finding, for negative action, and for not finding a moment of peace and happiness. This is very terrible, no, actually, but it's sadly, it happens quite often. When we are angry, we try to find fault and we do negative actions. And when we are angry, then we cannot find a moment of peace or happiness. When one is angry, there cannot be any happiness or peace of mind. Now, another example given by teachers about dosa is like burning, it's like fire burning that upon which it itself depends on. Imagine the fire depends on the firewood and it is burning it. So when we get angry, we feel burning inside. No? Sometimes some people even get stomach problem or heart attack because of anger. So with dosa, one cannot find any peace or any happiness. So that's the characteristic of dosa. Now, concerning the Dosamūla Citta, we have seen that it arises with domanassa, this mental displeasure or mental pain. And together, it also arises with animosity, patiga, or collision, or dosa itself. No? Now, we have to understand here that domanassa and patiga, they are not the same. In ultimate reality, domanassa is a vedana. It's a mental feeling. And in ultimate reality, patiga is dosa itself, is aversion, is anger, and it's hatred. So these two, although they are not the same, they arise together in the Dosamūla Citta. And they always arise together. In real experience, in life experience, it is quite difficult to differentiate these two, but in nature, they are quite different from each other. So domanassa, mental pain or mental displeasure, what does it do? It fully tastes the undesirable aspect of the object. That's its function. A mental feeling is in charge of tasting the object, no? All the undesirable thing of that thing, that is fully tasting it. And dosa, what does it do? And dosa, what does it want to do with the object? It wants to destroy it. So they have very different nature, but they always arise together. When one feel the terrible or undesirable aspect of the object, then dosa wants to destroy it. So in Dosamūla Citta, both of them are included in the Cittas. Okay, so now in the Lobhamūla Citta, we see that there are with wrong view or without wrong view. Yes. So let's see. How about in Dosamūla Citta? Can there be dosa dissociated from aversion? So in Loba, there can be wrong view with wrong view or without wrong view. Then how about in Dosamūla Citta? Can it be with aversion or without aversion? It's not possible, no? Because Dosamūla Citta must have dosa, yes? So there is no paticca vipayutta in this case. So Dosamūla Citta always associate with aversion or animosity. Okay, so that's the second aspect to Dosamūla Citta. And the third one, unprompted or prompted. So this is a little bit similar with the Lobhamūla Citta. When we say unprompted, that means that, let's say a person, she gets angry just spontaneously without a second thought. She just gets angry. So this kind of anger or even boredom or fear and things, all these are called unprompted. And sometimes it can be prompted as well. Let's say when someone said to her, "Well, this is so unfair. Are you going to let him do this to you? Are you not fighting back?" Then someone say these kind of words. Then she said, oh, it's true. I shouldn't just let it be. Then she gets angry and fight. And so, or all these kind of cittas that arise in those cases could be called prompted. Now, this one is kind of about anger, but also it can be other kinds of action, like even physical action, like harming others, can be prompted or can be unprompted as well. So this is quite easy to understand. Okay, so with these three aspects, we get two types of hatred-rooted consciousness, Dosamūla Citta. If we see it in a table, then it will be clear. Both of the hatred-rooted consciousness are accompanied by domanassa, mental displeasure. It is associated with anger and aversion, and just one unprompted and another one prompted. So when we are sad, when we are afraid, when we are angry, all these kind of situations, only one of these two cittas arise actually. It's actually quite amazing, no? Whatever aversion, all kinds of varieties there may be, but it's only these two kind of Dosamūla Citta, one of these two. Okay, so until here, is there any question about Dosamūla Citta? Is it clear? Oh, yes, Edith.
I was just wondering about the spectrum. Mm-hmm. So what I understand, like slight irritation in my mind would be like seldom appearance of one of these cittas. Mm-hmm. But what about when it's like a huge anger? Is it like why do we call it anger? Or is there any difference, or is it just the amount of like how many times these appear consecutively?
Yes. It's I think first of all, the degree is different. When we don't like something or when it's just a little bit annoyed, then maybe the degree of dosa is not so much. It's not so much. Or when we are very, very angry, then the degree maybe let's say a higher intensity of the anger. And as you said, it might be for a longer period of time. Sometimes we get angry and then we get over it very quickly. And so the moments of this kind of citta that arise is less. But sometimes we're very angry for days and for weeks, and then it turns into hatred. Some people like hate a person for years and he cannot forget about the incident or whatever. Then this kind of anger, it arises with longer period, no? Like, or sometimes maybe he forgets, but then sometimes it comes back. So it arises again and again, and it becomes stronger and stronger in that sense because of repetition.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the repetition condition then.
Yes, repetition also is one of the reasons.
Okay.
If you are talking about patana, it's also upaniseya also, and other ones as well.
Yeah, the nature. Okay.
Okay. So we have now two types of hatred-rooted consciousness. Let's take a little look of Pali. Again, you don't have to remember the Pali words, but it is always good to take a look at it. And so we get familiar with it. Now, accompanied by displeasure, it's called somanasa sahagata. Saha means together, gata, arise. It arises together with domanasa. So with mental displeasure or mental pain. Then we have patiga sampayuta associated with anger or aversion. So patiga is anger or aversion. Sampayuta associated with. Then unprompted asankarika and prompted sasankarika. So here we have the two types of Dosamūla Citta. The first one, domanasa sahagata patika sampayuta asankarika. And the second one, domanasa sahagata patika sampayuta sasankarika. So sometimes I think it's actually quite amazing that all kinds of, let's say, war, fights, hatred, anger, ill will, animosity, everything, terrible things that arise in this world, it's just because of these two kinds of cittas. Isn't that amazing? One of these two. So, of course, it can be motivated by lobha, because of greed, because we want something, we don't get it, then anger arise, fighting arise, war arise. And of course, it is together with ignorance as well. Because of ignorance, we don't know that it is not good to have lobha or to have dosa, and then also this arises. But at the moment, since we are talking about Abhidhamma, microscopically, in each moment of destruction, it is always with one of these two cittas only. Only with dosa can one destroy. Yes, Sanda.
That repetition that I did mention, can that be considered self-prompted?
In the case, for example, a person, she or he hates someone. There is a situation where a person made him angry, but the person, he only made him angry once, no? So at that time, it could be prompted or unprompted during the situation. But later on, he repeats and repeats, and those are actually unprompted because no one suggests him to get angry again. It comes from him, comes from himself. So those anger are mostly unprompted. In the later time, like next week and next month and later on, those are mostly unprompted.
So they are not considered self-prompted. Like, for instance, in the case of anger, because the anger can escalate because you are thinking and you are like increasing the fire by putting more wood on it.
Yes. Now I understand. So you mean self-prompted. Okay. Self-prompted, usually when we say sasankarika is when a person hesitates a little bit of whether he should do it or not. Let's say, so in that case, probably not. Welcome. Okay. And Amar?
Yeah, so this prompted The prompted means it has to be prompted by being, or it's also be prompted by, like, situation, event that is considered prompted.
Now, this prompted here, it's only considered prompted when it is suggested by someone or by oneself. For example,
not the event.
Not the event. Because when a situation, let's say something very sad happened, or something makes the person angry. So in this case, in the English word, we might understand that the situation or the other person prompted him to get angry. The situation made him angry, no? But this prompted does not mean that kind of prompted here, because if a situation, the same situation, someone can get angry and someone cannot get angry with the same situation. So if that situation prompt everyone to get angry, so it must be everyone must get angry in that situation. So this prompted and unprompted is quite personal. So it can be like a person, he hesitates a little bit whether I should go harm this person or not, or whether I should say these bad words to him. Then he hesitated and he think a little bit. And at the end, he thinks that, well, yes, I needed to say this. Then he said some bad words or something towards the other person because of anger. Then he hesitated. So he is prompted by himself. Or another person told him, why don't you tell him that, or something, or suggested by someone, then it is called prompted. But if the person, without even thinking, then he just, when someone said something that he doesn't like, then immediately he shout back, then that is unprompted. Not by the situation.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, anyone else? Yes, Claudia.
I wanted to ask, for example, in meditation, sometimes there is some unpleasant feeling. And so there is equanimity because I do not react to it. So I don't understand why anger always arises with cannot arise with equanimity as well.
Okay.
You can be angry.
Yes. Now, domanassa, it's only a mental feeling, no? So it has to do with mental pain. It has to do with the mind, yes? So if we have, if during meditation, we are feeling some unpleasant feeling, it could be because of physical pain. Now we talk about two situation, no? If I'm sitting in that position for a very long time, then I have some unpleasant physical pain. But because of we are meditating, then we are equanimous towards those kind of pain. We are not angry about my feet being painful at the time. Uddhacca is possible, but that time it is not with anger. We are not associating this with this mental pain with anger. We are actually, it is actually a good mind because we are just observing, we're not getting angry. So this is not akusala citta, it's not an unwholesome mind. It's not in this category. And another case, if he remembers something which makes him mentally unpleasant, or in the meditation, bad memory arises about someone say some bad things to us. Okay, in that case, at that moment, because we're talking again microscopically, so at that moment, it arises together actually with domanassa, because that mental displeasure associate with the anger. So it arises, but in the next moment, because we are meditating, we know that this kind of mind arises and we observe it. So the next moment, the coming mental process is taking that dosa or taking that situation or that feeling as its object. It's observing it and it is being equanimous about it. So that is also not unwholesome mind. They are actually wholesome mind. Those mind that are equanimous can associate, of course, with tranquility, with mental neutrality, but it's not. It's a different mind.
Thank you very much. I understand.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so let's contemplate a little bit in our daily life. Does this kind of Dosamūla Citta arise in us? When and how? Just a few seconds. Let's think. When dosa arises, how does it feel? Does it really arise with mental pain, displeasure? When it arises, is it prompted or unprompted? How about the degree of anger? Or it's just some annoyance? Sometimes it could be like very angry, or sometimes it's just boredom, uneasy. So in many different situations, this kind of Dosamūla Citta can arise in us. Okay, so let's see a little bit more about Dosamūla Citta, a little bit more of analysis. Now, with Mohamūla Citta, with the 8 Mohamūla Citta, we saw that it can arise with or without DT, yes? So let's think a little bit. How about with anger? Is it possible to arise together with wrong view? What do you think? Edith, yes? Possible? Okay, how about the others? Mila, possible? Okay. All right. Okay, so actually, it is not possible. Why? But of course, we can say that how come it is not possible? A person can think that it's okay to get angry and there is no bad result. It is possible to have anger with wrong view, right? Now, actually, it is not possible in the sense that wrong view, DT, does motivate. It can be a motivation for anger to arise. But when we look at it microscopically, they arise in a different moment. Because wrong view only arise together with Mohamūla Citta. So at the moment, when the person has the wrong view, he thinks that, it's okay to do wrong. There is nothing wrong nothing wrong about being angry. I can harm the other person. I can say bad words to him. Nothing wrong. It's okay to do that. So there is certainly a wrong view with this kind of ideas. But then in the moment when he is really shouting to the other person, that time, DT does not arise. Only anger arise together in this moment. Because remember, citta must associate always with an object, yes? So each citta takes an object. Now we will see why it is not possible here. With wrong view, the object of wrong view is the idea. One is holding strongly towards this idea about there is no karma, there is no effect, and it's no problem about doing wrong. I can kill, I can do harm, I can do anything. It's okay. No cause and effect. So if he thinks like that, he's holding on to his idea. So that's why with DT, it always associates with Mohamūla Citta because it's holding on, attached to his idea. So it arises only with Mohamūla Citta. Then how about anger? What is his anger? Let's say this boy, he wants to get cookie. His mom said, no, you can't have cookie before you have your meal. So what does anger wants to do? What dosa wants to do is want to destroy the object of its anger. No, in this case, his mom. He's so angry with his mom. So the object is different. Because dosa wants to destroy. So, and greed or wrong view want to attach. So DT, wrong view, attaching to an idea can only associate with Mohamūla Citta, with greed-rooted consciousness. But dosa, on the other hand, it wants to destroy it. So it is with aversion. So it cannot be holding on to. So that's why DT, this wrong view, it can't motivate. It can happen in another moment prior to the arising of the Dosamūla Cittas. It can happen before with a greed-rooted consciousness in a different process, but in later process, then the dosa arise. So therefore, Dosamūla Citta does not associate with ditti. Okay. Mila and Edith, is it clear? Yes? Okay. All right. So we have finished with Lobha-mūla Citta, 8 kinds of it, and as well as Dosamūla Citta, 2 kinds of it. Okay, now actually for these 2 groups, although the title is called greed-rooted consciousness or aversion or hatred-rooted consciousness, but actually they also associate with moha, with the ignorance root. So for all these 2 types, for all the Lobha-mūla Citta, it is actually 2-rooted. It is greed-rooted as well as moha-rooted. And for dosa, it is also dosa-rooted and moha-rooted. But because moha, ignorance or delusion, is more quiet, and lobha and dosa make more noise, no? So they have the name of they are the representative of the group. They represent that group of citta, but moha is also there. Now let's go to the last group here. There is one group that is only associated with one root, purely with ignorance, without greed and without aversion. So how are they? What are they? We will see now. Let's go to the 3 aspects of the delusion-rooted consciousness, Mohamūla Citta. So the first aspect of Mohamūla Citta, delusion or ignorance, is of course moha itself, no? So translated as delusion or ignorance, this moha deludes the mind. It makes the mind fuzzy. It's like putting a smoke screen, like the ninjas, they put a smoke screen and bomb, and so we don't see clearly what is happening, what the truth is. Or we can say that it's like a magician, it covers up or it hides the real nature of things. So we don't see things as impermanent, as unsatisfactory, or as non-self. Moha also does not know what is good and what is bad. It's kind of a dual kind of consciousness. It is a little bit dulled and diluted, ignorance, and like that. And another trick of moha, which is also very dangerous, is that it makes us see what is unwholesome as wholesome and what is wholesome as unwholesome. So it makes things up. We get the opposite of what things really are, no? So that's what moha does. And this type of Mohamūla Citta, of course, moha that associate with greed and associated with aversion, they also have this kind of function, but they are kind of in the background because dosa and lobha, they have strong characters, no? So they show themselves more vividly. Now, with this kind of Mohamūla Citta that we are talking about, they arise only with one root, with the moha root. So it's without lobha and without dosa. So this case, how do they arise then? Now we will see. So with this, the other aspect of Mohamūla Citta is again mental feeling, vedana. Now let's see. What do you think? Is it possible that a purely deluded consciousness arise with somanassa? Is it possible? Some say yes, some say no. Then how about with domanassa, with anger? Possible? Not possible, no, because if one is angry, one is angry, no. So with mental displeasure, mental pain. Then how about with mental neutrality? Possible? Possible, yeah. Okay, so actually, with Mohamūla Citta, only associate with mental neutrality, with Uddhacca. Because the cittas that are accompanied only by moha, they are not as strong as those accompanied by either lobha or dosa. As we said a little while ago, they are kind of dual. So they do not taste the object as fully as the other cittas does. So they are always accompanied with a neutral feeling. So neither pleasurable or displeasurable. So it always, Mohamūla Citta, always associate with mental neutrality in this case. Let's see why. We'll see now with this other aspect, it will become more clear. Mohamūla Citta can associate with doubt or with restlessness. Now, when there is doubt, one cannot decide which is which or what is what. So the mind is wavering, is puzzled, it hesitated, it's uncertain, it's indecided. So all this characteristic of doubt, because of what? Because of its inability to comprehend. Because it's delusion, no? It's ignorance, it's delusion. So it does not understand. It doesn't know what, which is good, which is bad, what is what. So this is called accompanied with doubt, Vicikicchā. One cannot decide one or the other. It is like in a two-pronged road. We do not know which way to go. When one tries to find out what is what, then the mind becomes agitated, become perplexed, like that. Now, with the Pali word, Vicikicchā, the Pali words are always very interesting. We can understand a lot by looking into the word. Now, there can be two explanations of this Pali word. First, we can divide it into Vici, which means investigation, and Kicchā, which means perplexity. So that means that the mind cannot decide which is which, and it's wavering. And when one tries to find out, try to investigate, then one becomes agitated. So it's vexation due to perplexed thinking. So that's called Vicikicchā, doubt. And another explanation of this Pali word, we can divide it into vi, meaning without, and cikicchā, meaning curing or remedy or medicine. What does it mean here? When there is doubt, there can be no correct understanding. There can be no knowledge. Then, or even if knowledge does arise, it will disappear soon. So the second meaning is said to be devoid of the remedy of knowledge. So no remedy that consists of knowledge. So in essence, this doubt here means doubt about the practice, doubt about one's ability to purify the mind, doubt about the Four Noble Truths, whether it's really true or not, whether suffering exists, is there really a cause to it, doubt about the dependent origination, or all those kind of doubts. It's called Vicikicchā here. Okay, so this one type of Mohamūla Citta that associate only with one root, only with delusion, is also associated together with doubt. So we can understand when the mind is doubtful, is kind of with a mental neutral feeling. No, it's not angry, but it's also not very happy about it. So that's why it associates with only mental neutrality or neutral mental feeling here. Now, how about restlessness? When there is restlessness, one is agitated, restless, confused, distracted, and there is disquietude in the mind. The mind is all over the place. There is no mental calmness, enabling the mind to consider the object clearly. So that's with restlessness. So the mind cannot take hold of the object clearly. Let's take a look at the Pali word again here. Now, in Pali, restlessness is called Uddhacca. Ud, the first part of the word, means above. And Dacca means shaking or trembling. So literally, Uddhacca means trembling above the object, meaning that the mind is shaky about the object and it cannot take hold of it clearly or firmly, does not understand the object properly. So the mind is not with this object or neither with another thing. So it is the inability to fully aware of the object. When this kind of citta arises, the mind cannot be fully aware. Okay, so with these different aspects, we get two kinds of delusion-rooted consciousness, Mohamūla Citta. So it's always associated with mental neutrality, Uddhacca, and either with doubt or with restlessness here. So those are the two types of Mohamūla Citta. Now, let's take a little bit look at the Pali as well. With mental feeling, here it is associated with neutral mental feeling. So, Uddhacca sahagata, Vicikicchā sampayutta, or Uddhacca sampayutta. So that's the two kinds of Mohamūla Citta. Now, up to here, then we have covered all the akusala cittas here. We have 8 kinds of Lobha-mūla citta, 2 kinds of Dosamūla Citta, and 2 kinds of Mohamūla Citta, making it altogether 12 akusala cittas here. If we look at it at the table form, it will also be clear. So, in summary, Lobha-mūla citta can associate with mental pleasure or mental neutrality. It is with wrong view or without wrong view, prompted or unprompted. And it never associates with mental displeasure, because when we are greedy about something, we want something either very happily or neutrally. We don't want and unwanted at the same time, no? So it associates with only these 2 types of mental feeling. Now, with Dosamūla Citta, it always associates with mental displeasure. It's always unhappy about something, having aversion towards something. Always with aversion can be prompted or unprompted. And Mohamūla Citta, with mental neutrality, always with this indifferent feeling, and with doubt or with restlessness. So here we have all 12 kinds of akusala citta. Now, we have seen the 12 dishes of the spicy family so far, but we haven't get into details of all the ingredients in each dish yet. Only the most prominent ingredients are mentioned here, because in this chapter, we are only introducing the different dishes, what dishes are available here, and how to cook it and what ingredients are inside there will come later. For example, let's say here in this dish, we may say, okay, it's a potato and chicken curry. So only potato and chicken is mentioned, but there are also onion and garlic and chili and different things there. No? So what we have seen, like with mental feeling, with wrong view or aversion, are only some of the prominent cittas, mental factors that are included in those 12 kinds of Mohamūla Citta, but other things are also there, yes? Okay, so here, one detailed. Getting back to the 12 kinds, actually, Uddhacca, restlessness, associate with all 12 kinds of akusala citta, not only with the last one, but only in the last one, in the last Mohamūla Citta, is it mentioned. Why is that so? It's because in other cittas, there are more active mental states such as lobha and dosa and wrong view. They have stronger characteristics, no? So they are more visible. And restlessness in those cases, although it is there, it is not so evident. But we can understand when we are having greed or lobha, the mind is restless. The mind is not calm, no? So we can understand that it is associated as well. And when we are angry, well, needless to say, the mind is, of course, is restless, is agitated, no? Okay, and when it is with doubt also, actually, Uddhacca, restlessness, is also there. But in the last citta, because there is no other very prominent ingredient there, therefore, here it becomes the strongest. He is the strongest now. So he is prominent there. So therefore, it is only mentioned here as the main character, but in all other ones, it is also present. Let's take an example. In these 2 dishes, a curry dish, and this is a ceviche. I don't know if you know this dish is salad, kind of with strong lemon taste salad. Sometimes with fish or with other things. So in these 2 dishes, salt is there, yes? We understand that we put salt here and we put salt here as well. But for the ceviche, lemon is its strong favorite, no? Is prominent. And for the curry, all kind of other spices are strong there. So although salt is not mentioned, it is still in the background. So it is the same like Uddhacca is like this. Uddhacca is present in all the 12 dishes of the spicy family, all the 12 kinds of akusala citta, although it might not be mentioned. It is there. Now, when this lemon or these other spices are not available or are not present, let's say in a simple boiled broccoli dish, then the salt becomes vivid or becomes more evident, and we can taste it more prominently. No? So only in the same way, in the Mohamūla Citta, the last one, accompanied by mental neutral feeling, associated with restlessness, is it mentioned. But actually, it is associated with all the 12 kinds of akusala citta. There's always restlessness. As well as moha, no? Moha rooted is also associated with all the 12 kinds of akusala citta. Okay, up to here. Any question? Yes, Delawa.
So do I understand it correctly that the last one, which you just talked about, is the least strongest citta?
Yes, we can understand it that way. In terms of the intensity or in terms of the karmic result, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome. Yes, Claudia.
I wanted to know if the duration of every single citta is the same for everyone, for everything,
yes.
or
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's the same. Now, in the next part of today's session, we are going to look a little bit into the mental process. So we will see now a little bit about duration also. So we'll come back there with Claudia's comment. Okay, so one last thing to mention about these three groups of akusala cittas in regard with the relationship with their object, which is good to remember. With lobha always stick to its object. It's sticky. It wants to attach to it. It doesn't want to let go. So that's the characteristic of lobha towards its the relationship with its object. Now for dosa, what dosa wants to do is dosa wants to destroy its object. It wants to strike, destroy. And how about moha? Moha is like holding a bunch of sand. Like we cannot get hold of the object properly or firmly. So that's the characteristic of these three types of cittas towards its object. Okay, so let's take a break here. And then coming back, we will look at a little bit about mental process. And we are going to another group of citta. Okay, so let's take a 5 minutes break. And we'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, I would like to ask everyone, how are you feeling? Do you think that it's a lot of information? Is it too much information? Is it okay that we continue, or we'll have abhidhamma indigestion?
Abhidhamma indigestion.
Yes.
That's very good.
So
I mean, I'm amazed how I can still learn even even the basics. I can still learn things, and for me it's very, very beneficial.
It's great. Okay, thank you. How about the others who are taking the abhidhamma information for the first time? Is it too much? Is it like a lot, or is it overwhelming, or how is it going so far?
I think it is both a lot, and but I wouldn't want any less.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Yes, me too. I think it's I'm fine with how we are going through it, and also we have the chance to go back to watching the videos, so I think there's no problem with that, and I do that too. So I have, for me it's no problem.
Great. Yes, that's very nice. Yeah, sometimes yes, it is like a lot of information. So as Delawa said, going back to the video is sometimes good, because sometimes at one time we cannot take in everything. But later on, when we look again or like that, maybe we get something that we missed or something. It happens to me also when I'm studying with my teachers, or even in the meditation interview with my teacher, that he will always say something. Then I always like to record it and listen to it again another day. Then after that, another day when I listen again, then I am always amazed. Oh, did he say it so? Or did he say something like that? And I didn't catch it at that moment. So Abhidhamma also, it's a lot of information. So it's good also. Sometimes when we forget something, we can go back to the video. I'm trying to put the different topics and subjects with the time frame into the video. So if you just want to remember something, then you can always click on just that part, and you don't have to go through the whole video again. So in this case, let's go a little bit more. It's a little bit intense today because we might go into something very interesting, the mental process, just in brief, just as an introduction. Okay, so if everyone is ready, we'll start. Now, actually, we have been talking about Kamavachara cittas, and we have finished the first group, akusala citta. And the next group we are going to is called the ahetuka cittas, so rootless consciousness. Now, before going into the rootless consciousness, it will be very helpful if we look at the mental process in brief, just to have a little idea about what mental process is. It will help us understand the cittas that are included in this group, because in this group we have some resultant consciousness and we have some functional consciousness, and we have to understand what are they and what do they do, So because of that, let's look at the mental process in brief. Now, if we compare a citta to be a dish with different ingredients, then what would be a mental process? A mental process, in that case, if we take this comparison, it would be like a full course of a meal, from the appetizer to the final coffee. When something happens, let's say when we see something, only one citta cannot do the job. One citta, actually, the lifespan of a citta is very short. Just like Claudia right now said, does every citta have the same duration? Let's say the lifespan of the citta, yes. It only arises, exists, and it passed away. And another citta arises, exists, and it passed away. So it's very fast. So if we talk about mental process, it would be like a full course. Then we start with a drink, then we have some appetizer, and then we get a soup, and then we have some bread, and so on and so on. So in a full meal, then we pass through a lot of different dishes, so to complete the full meal. So in the same way, mental process, we can understand it in a similar way. To finish one process, let's say, to see something, we need to go through a lot of dishes, a lot of different cittas. Now, when we see something, actually, all these little dots, it arises and passes, arises and passes, arises and passes. So what we call a mental process here, let's say this I-door mental process is from here to here, is called one process. But with one process, we only actually just received the visible object. We still don't know what this flower is, because it will take some more mental process later on to understand the flower, then to have more reaction to it. So many cittas are involved in what we call seeing, and each of them have their own function. Now we will take the I-door mental process as an example. In the commentaries, you will find a mango simile, which is very useful to understand the mental process. So it is said that there is a man with his head covered, and he went to sleep at the foot of a mango tree with mangoes on it. And then a ripe mango fell down near him. Then he was awakened by the sound. Then he woke up, and then he opened his eyes, and then he looked at the mango. Then he stretched out his hand, and he took the mango in his hand. After that, then he squeezes it a little bit, and then he smells it, and then he knows that the mango is ripe. So then he eats it and he enjoys it. And after that, then he swallows even the last small particles with the mango taste in it, with the saliva, then he went back to sleep. So that's the simile of the mental, idle mental process. Now, the man that is sleeping is compared to what we call bhavanga citta. Bhavanga is translated in English as life continuum. Now, this kind of citta is actually they arise only when there is no active mental process happening. So bhavanga citta arises continuously until an active mental process starts. So let's say until the mango drop, so something is happening, then bhavanga citta stops, and then the mental process or other kinds of citta arise in order to do the function of that process. No, then when that active mental process is finished, then bhavanga arises again. So that is compared to the man sleeping. No, now here we may also understand it as, let's say, when we drive, as neutral. So when nothing is happening, the car is in neutral gear, and when something happens, then it moves. Yeah. Okay. So let's take the idle mental process as an example. First, when a visible object comes into the avenue of the eye, before that, many bhavanga cittas are arising. No, bhavanga. Then when something hits the eye, then bhavanga is interrupted. Then it's shaken. So 3 bhavangas arise, and then it comes to rest. Now, what happened next is that one citta, which is called the 5-door averting consciousness, arise. What does that do? What does it mean? It means that when the mind is, let's say he is sleeping in a neutral, no, then it's waking up, and then the mind turns to the door. In this case, because it's an eye door process, it turns to the eye door. So this citta, its function is only to turn. It doesn't do anything anymore. Then after turning towards that door, then another citta, which is called the Chakku Vijnana, the eye consciousness, arise. So this is compared to the man opening his eyes and seeing the mango. So now here, actually, the eye consciousness arises. It sees the object. After seeing the object, it arises one citta, which is called Sampatichana, the receiving consciousness. It takes the object which is being seen by the eye consciousness. Then that in the simile is like the man stretching out his hand and taking hold of the mango. Then after that, citta passed away. Another consciousness called the investigating consciousness, Santilana, arised. So he investigates, let's say he squeezed the fruit and he knows whether it is ripe or not. Then later on, he smells it and then he decides that the mango is ripe. So here it's called Votabana, this citta. The mind determines that, oh, this is the object that this process is taken. Now then here, with the Javana moments, is the moment when the mind fully experiences the object. It enjoys it, whether it is tasty, whether it's good or bad. So you see here in the Javana moments, it actually arises 7 times the same type of cittas here. So this is when the mind reacts to the object. After that, then the mind takes an aftertaste of the object, and then it goes back to neutral. So that's a rough picture of what seeing is. So after this process, although we don't actually know that it is a flower yet, because other cittas, other mental processes are necessary, because it is passing so fast, like in the scriptures, it says that in the snap of a finger, billions of these cittas pass. So many of this process happens, no? But in brief, this is how a mental process looks like. Now, we have previously seen that the akusala cittas, the 12 kinds of unwholesome mental process, they actually only happen in these mind moments, in the jhavanas. When we react with lobha or with anger or with moha, so these are the moments these jhavanas are the moments where akusala cittas arise. Yes, Ahmad has a question.
Yes, so this is like, one mind moment or the one mind process. This is
okay. Now these cittas, each ball here you see is one citta. It's called.
So that means one mind moment. Is that correct?
One citta? Okay. About terms, when we call mind moment, actually every mind has three moments: arising moment, existing moment, and passing away moment.
Right.
Yes, so this is three mind moments actually: arise, exist, and passed away. So one citta, three mind moments. And here, 17 cittas, one mental process.
Okay. And this bhavanga citta, within the bhavanga citta, it can be all 127 cittas, or there are certain categories that go into bhavanga?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't get it.
We have 127 cittas, right? So in one bhavanga, can all 127 go into one bhavanga, or there's only certain cittas can arise in the bhavanga?
Only certain cittas. Yes, bhavanga cittas, we are actually coming there. We have 121 types of cittas, and bhavanga cittas are actually resultant consciousness. It is a resultant. We are going to this in the next slide. And so it can be many types of resultant consciousness can be this bhavanga citta. It depends on that individual. So it depends on which type of cittas of our rebirth consciousness also. And so we will come to that later. For example, now jhavanas can be akusala, can be kusala, right? And all these, what kind of cittas are they? We are going to that in later chapters. So a little bit of patience for the moment, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so the 12, now we're getting back to the idol mental process. Now, the akusala cittas, we have only looked at 12 kinds of cittas. They can only arise in these moments, no? So cittas, they are divided into different groups according to their nature. So we can say that there are 4 classes of cittas. Let's take a look. Now we have akusala cittas, unwholesome cittas, and we have wholesome cittas. So kusala and akusala, they are those cittas that generates karma. To be precise, the intention in the wholesome or unwholesome cittas, the intention that are associated with akusala or with kusala cittas are those that generate karma. So therefore, here I put the image like planting seeds. No, these are causes. These are causes. Then, when we have causes, then we all, of course, we have result. So there is another class of cittas that are called vipaka, resultant consciousness. So these ones, we have akusala vipaka, unwholesome resultant, and also we have kusala vipaka, wholesome resultant. So these ones are the result generated by previously done akusala or kusala. So they are the results of previous wholesome or unwholesome action. They arise in a different time, not later on. When the conditions are suitable, then this resultant will happen. Then we have one more class of citta that is called the kriya citta, which is functional. So functional cittas, they are neither seeds nor fruits. So they are not karma and also not result of karma. They are only functional cittas. So they do not generate karma themselves, and they are also not the result of karma. They only do a function. They are also simple cittas. Later on, we'll get into details which type belongs to which group. Okay. Now, getting back into the idol mental process, the bhavanga citta are actually resultant consciousness. They are results. And the 5-door adverting consciousness, the one that turned to the door, that one is actually a functional citta. It only does the function of turning, doesn't do anything else. It's a function. Now, the Chakku-viññāna here, eye consciousness, receiving consciousness, and investigating consciousness are also a resultant consciousness. Then we have the Vottabhana, determining consciousness. Here also, it is only a function. At this point, here it's still like more the five senses, no? Like the eye and all these things. Then here it goes to the mind, you see. So here it turns to the mind, it determines, and then it goes to the mind, and the mind reacts. Now with this jhavana, these 7 jhavanas are those active ones. These are the ones that we react with wholesome cittas or with unwholesome cittas. Those are new karmas that we are generating at the moment. And those, the tadaramana, the aftertaste, and the bhavanga, again, they are also resultant consciousness here. So in a mental process, we have different categories and different classes of cittas working together in a mental process. Our reaction towards what is being seen, whether it's a wholesome reaction or unwholesome reaction, those are the ones that generate karmas here. So the 12 akusala cittas so far that we have seen happens only in these jhavanas only. Okay, so if we understand an eye door mental process, then we can understand the other 5 sense door process as well. So here, let's say with sound, here instead of an eye door, instead of eye consciousness, ear consciousness arises. So in the same way, bhavanga, 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 shaking, stopped, then turning to the eye door, here to the e door, then ear consciousness, sota viññāna, that's why it's sota. So ear consciousness arises, then again received, investigate, determined, jhavana, reaction, aftertaste, then bhavanga again. So in the same way, for nose consciousness, same process, only the doa and the sense consciousness changes here. So for nose, for tongue, and for body door also, the process is basically the same type of process. Cittas are different, no? Because one arise and pass away already, but the process is the same. Then the object is different, no? Sound, smell, taste, and tangible object, no? Okay, so these are the process for the 5 sense door mental processes happens like this. Now, how about mind door mental process? With mind door mental process, since all the objects of the mind door is already in the mind, then we don't need the 5 sense door, yes, here. In this case, because the object is already in the mind, it's a mind object. So we don't need to turn to the 5 sense doors. So this citta does not arise. Now, we also don't need an eye, an ear, nose, tongue, or body consciousness to take this object because it's already a mind object. So this also does not arise. So without these 2, then receiving consciousness is also not necessary. And investigating consciousness also not necessary. So in this case, for mind door mental process, only the Vottabhana, determined consciousness, here does another function. It only turns to the mind directly. So bhavanga, 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 then something is happening. So the mind is thinking something, then it shakes, it stops. Then the mind returns to this mind door averting consciousness, turns to the mind itself, turns to the mind door. Then it tastes the object fully, and then it gets an aftertaste and go back to sleep. So this is the mind door mental process. It's a little bit shorter than the 5 door mental process. Okay, now going back to the eye door process as an example, here, in this part, since they are resultant consciousness or functional consciousness, they are quite passive. They are performing their own function. We don't really have to do anything about it. No, there's nothing much to do about it. It's a little bit like the stomach. When there is food, it digests. So we don't have to really do anything about it. So these types of consciousness, they arise quite passively. But now here in the jhavanas are the active ones. And our responsibility are also just here. when the mind just naturally, it sees something or he hears something, so it takes the object, and it naturally happens. But then how we react to it here is important. This is our responsibility, and it's the active part. So either we react to it with akusala, with unwholesome mind state, cittas, or we react to it with wholesome cittas. So here is the important part. So the 12 akusala citta that we have looked at in the last category are here. And in the next session, in the next Saturday, we are going to look at the correspondent resultant consciousness of these akusala cittas. So that means the resultant consciousness, which are rootless, ahetuka, akusala, vipaka. We are going to look at rootless, unwholesome, resultant consciousness are the next group that we are going to look at. So where do they happen? So in these different places, no? So not here, because they are resultant. Here is active. They are the planting the seeds. Now we are going to look at next group. We are going to look at the results. Okay, so I know it's a lot of information, but now we are gathering pieces of jigsaw puzzle. So we'll need some time. And when we have enough pieces, then they will all put together nicely, and we will see the bigger picture, and we'll understand it. Oh, okay, this one is this one, this one is this one. But first we have to gather the pieces. So I believe slowly, in the coming sessions, everything will become more and more clear. So for today, I think it's enough information. We've gone through quite a lot. So we will go to the questions and answer if you have anything that you want to ask or comment. Yes, Sanda.
Yes, it's related to the slide with the 12 akusala cittas with the 3 tables for lobha, dosa, and moha.
Mm-hmm.
Is there doubt in all self-prompted akusala cittas?
No. Here, because the doubt here specifically, it means doubting about one's ability to practice, doubting about whether the Four Noble Truths is true. This kind of doubts is what is meant by doubt here, but not doubting of whether I should do it or not that kind of doubt.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Oh, yes, Mila.
Yes. I was wondering, what is the difference between wrong view and delusion?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So delusion is not knowing of what is wrong, what is right, and all this. So it is a very valid question because it is connected. Now, remember, we said that wrong view only associate with Mohamūla Citta, right? Because wrong view is not only just not knowing about something as right or wrong. It is attaching to an idea. I think it is like that. I think there is no cause and effect. I think that it's okay to do wrong. There's nothing bad about it. There will be no result, no bad result. So he's actually attaching to that kind of idea. So that's why it only associates with Mohamūla Citta, because it is attachment, no? It's attached to its own idea, the wrong view. So, of course, in Mohamūla Citta, moha is also present. Moha root is also there. So together with ignorance, together with attachment to the idea, then one has wrong view. But in nature and characteristic, they are different. Then moha is more a smoke screen, a delusion. It's like a veil that does not let us see reality as it is. But wrong view is we see the reality through color glasses, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Is that
so when there's dosa, so when there's Dosamūla Citta, it means it cannot arise with wrong view, just not quite clear. Like, can we think that anger is good for us, for example? Wouldn't that be wrong view, for example?
Yes, it would. But what I mean that it cannot arise together, meaning not in the same citta. So microscopically, as we explained a little while ago, surely we think that it's okay to get angry. And of course, this kind of thoughts also happen, no? But it happens in a different moment. So first, the person with Mohamūla Citta attached to this idea of it's okay to get angry. It's my right to fight or whatever. So then Mohamūla Citta, together with that wrong view, arise in him in those mental process. Then later mental process, then when he really fight or when he really shout at the other person, that Dosamūla Citta is not associated with wrong view at that moment. Because Dosamūla Citta is aversion. It pushes away its object. And if we have a wrong view, we have an idea, we are attached, we are holding on to the idea. So we cannot hold on and push at the same time. So when we hold on to the idea, it's Mohamūla Citta arising, then later on in other mental process, then we push away aversion. Therefore, it does not associate together, but it does not mean that they are not related.
Thank you
Their
so much.
object is different, no? Okay.
Got it.
Yes. Okay, Delawa.
So the mental process beginning with Bhavanga Citta like 4 times and then following each other steps. Right now, do they happen every time the same amount? Like they are always the same, but with different doors. But it's always 4 types of Bhavanga, then the turning of the mind, then this one and this one, and it's always the same length, or do they change sometimes? So if that's clear.
Yes, it's clear. So Bhavanga, it not necessarily, the shaking ones is 3 times, but the Bhavanga that is before that, it can be many. For example, Bhavanga happens when there is no active mental process happening. So when a person is in deep sleep, let's say, then a lot of Bhavanga Citta arise. Bhavanga, maybe millions of Bhavanga happen when the person is actually in deep sleep. So he's not even dreaming. So no other active mental process happening. Then a mosquito come and bite him. Then something happened. Yeah. So then the Bhavanga shakes and then it turns to the body door. Right. So that process also depends on whether the object is clear or not. If the object is not very clear, maybe we all have the experience. Sometimes something passed by very quickly. We didn't even see what it was. And we didn't, just something shake, and we didn't actually see it. Or in the sleeping time, sometimes a mosquito bites us, but we didn't even notice when we are sleeping very deeply. So depending on whether the object is clear or not, the length of the process can also shorten. Sometimes we don't even react because the object is so not clear, we barely grasp it and that's it, the mental process finished. And sometimes because the object is very clear, then we react strongly, 7 jhavanas, and even an aftertaste to it. And sometimes the aftertaste also does not arise depending on the object. So in chapter 4, when we study different kinds of mental process, we will come to that, all those details.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, Chie. Okay.
So bouncing off Sanda's question, where you said doubt is only regarding, the 3 characteristics. What about restlessness? Is restlessness, related to everything or specifically to the Dhamma as well? No.
Now, doubt is in essential terms, it's related to not only just the three characteristics, but also the Four Noble Truths, and also whether something true is really true, about like whether in ultimate sense, if these things are true, about the Dhamma, about the Buddha, about the Sangha also. And essentially, it's about that kind of doubt, but also it is doubt about one's own ability. Let's say when we practice meditation, we doubt about whether this method is correct, is good or not. Or sometimes we doubt, I know, well, maybe this method is good, but I don't know if I'm able to do it. So that kind of doubt about one's ability, or about the teacher, whether this teacher is qualified, whether the Buddha really taught the right Dhamma, or all these are included in doubt. Now, about restlessness, it's not specific to Dhamma, because restless is just that mental feeling of confused, like not calmed, not confused, but calm, not calmed and agitated. The mind is all over the place. It cannot grasp its object firmly. So it is associated with all kinds of akusala cittas. With Mohamūla Citta, when we experience greed or any kind of loba, it can be just liking or something, the mind is not peaceful, it's not calm, it's agitated, it's restless. And the same way, when it is with dosa, then the mind is also restless. No, it is not calm. And with the two Mohamūla Citta as well, there is always restlessness. It is a very subtle mental ingredient, as we say, like the salt in all the different dishes. So it is always there.
Okay, just to check one more time. With the Mohamūla Citta, with doubt, that one is specifically towards, things associated with the Dhamma.
Essentially, yes. I will confirm this again with my teacher, whether other kinds of doubts could be included. For example, what kind of doubt can you, like maybe if you're giving me an example, then it will be.
Oh, okay.
What other kind?
Yes, I got a little bit confused, but you've cleared it up in terms of practice doubt is a little bit different from this kind of doubt that you're talking about.
Like the practice.
Let's say if you're practicing, meditation, and you're doubting about yourself, this is different from
that doubt is also included in that doubt.
Okay.
Doubting about one's own ability, that if we can practice, or all those are also included.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Claudia.
So when we talk about moha before, you said that is like a veil.
Mm-hmm.
But in the sense that this is not doesn't allow us to see the three characteristics, or even the world at the physical level, in the sense that even the perception that we have about the world in a physical level. So
about the world.
For instance, if I didn't have delusion, I could see this world in another way, like like his structure will be different. I don't know if I explain myself properly.
Mostly, moha here, ignorance, is not letting one see reality as it is.
So we talk about the three characteristics only.
The three characteristics is one of the characteristics of reality. But for example, sometimes we may, because of delusion, we see something as undesirable as desirable. That's also delusion. Or sometimes we see something unwholesome as wholesome. Then that's also because of delusion. Not necessarily about the three characteristics, which is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self. Of course, these three, we don't see it because of delusion, but also other things. Sometimes, for example, we see this body as something very beautiful, as that's subha and asubha. No, subha means we're seeing something very beautiful, but actually there is also a meditation practice. We're seeing actually what this is. This is flesh, this is bone, this is beef, and this is all these things, which in its essence is not something very beautiful. But because of delusion, we think that this body is very beautiful. Those kind of ideas and thoughts are also based on delusion, no? Based on ignorance or delusion, moha.
But my question was, I wanted to say that, like I see, for example, my arms in this way that I see, like with flesh and everything, what I can see. But if I didn't have delusion, maybe I can see it in another way. Like I can see this chemical reaction arising and ceasing rapidly. So it will change in its structure at the chemical level.
If there is wisdom, maybe the mind can see the arising and the passing away of rupa, of matter. But this is seen with wisdom, with the mind, not with the eye. So even if there is wisdom, this eye is very limited, this physical eye. Let's say we know that this X-ray or this ultraviolet, they exist. With machine, we can see it, but this eye, we cannot see it. So in this way, the eye is limited. We cannot see things with the eyes. But what you mentioned, like if we can understand that the arising and the passing away of matter, let's say in this case, is possible with the mind, with wisdom.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else? Yes, Edith.
I keep thinking about this. I don't even know how to really form a question about it. So I have trouble understanding why dosa is wanting to destroy the object. To me, as experientially, it's never like I want to destroy something. It's more like just escaping or just turning away from there. It's not as like it seems to me. It seems like brutal, very harsh. Like you could want to destroy a person or something. It's I don't understand the association. So is maybe patiga means something else too?
Okay. About the Pali word, I need to check again for this definition, and I will get back to you next session. But of course, patika in ultimate reality is dosa. Dosa is aversion. So as you say, it's pushing away. Whether you want to destroy it or not, surely it wants to push away. It doesn't like it. So you push away either by pushing it away gently, or either you push away by destroying it, so it's not there, like that kind of push away. It also can happen. So aversion, if the destroying or the striking, it's a very strong word for you to understand. So just understand it as pushing away, just pushing away the object.
Okay.
Like it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yes. Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Amar.
So this pushing away or destroying from mind moment point of view, isn't it the same?
Yes, for me also, right? It's kind of the same.
Yeah, from what Edith said was a broader concept, right? But from mind moment point of view, the object that is associated with that particular mind moment is, in my opinion, is the same, right? Either pushing away or destroying, right? It's basically uses, right? Isn't that the same thing?
Well, like as in the suttas, also the Buddha used many different kinds of words to explain the same thing. But for some people, according to their own experience, they can understand, let's say, push away is more according to my experience. So it is easier for me to understand in this way. For someone, like destroying it or killing it or something could be more easy to understand for some other person. So in the same way, therefore, we said we use Pali words. So with these Pali words, we have all this range of meaning. Just imagine with dosa, it's from boredom, fear, dislike, to destruction, to killing, to war, to all these things are all included in dosa. So the range is really wide. Yes. So, but with one word, dosa, no. So in the same way, whether we use English words push away, destroying, or anything, it doesn't matter, as long as we understand that it is aversion. It is not wanting the object. It's not attaching the object, but instead it wants to push it away. So whichever word we use, then it's okay, as long as we understand the idea of the dosa cittasika, its relation with its object.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome. So I think both are valid. So whichever meaning it's easier for you to understand, just take that.
So my question is, because you mentioned that Mohamūla Citta and Dosamūla Citta, they can't arise simultaneously at the same time, right?
Right.
But I remember you giving an example of Mohamūla Citta associating with something as subtle as maybe just a slight preference for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So preference, in having a preference, for example, right, there must be perhaps aversion towards another thing. Like if you have a choice between A and B. So if there's a preference for A, wouldn't there also simultaneously be an aversion for B, or a lack of preference for B?
Or
case,
an attachment to A.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
an attachment
to A here.
Yeah. So, but does that not arise at the same time? Like when we profess that we have an attachment to A, therefore we have an aversion to B, if a choice needs to be made.
Mm-hmm. It can arise in a different time. But when Mohamūla Citta arises, then it is attached. It is an attachment to A. So that we call loba, towards A. And because the object is different, you see, the dosa is towards B.
Yeah.
So the object is different. So it depends on which object you are talking about. If the citta that takes A as its object is truly attachment. So if the citta takes B as its object, then it's dosa. But they cannot arise at the same time. The object is different.
I see. So it's definitely one after the other.
At a different time. I will not say exactly after, because in the mental process, it must pass through the whole mental process before another process can rise. Yeah?
I see. Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So perhaps to put it into practical terms, so perhaps in life, in our daily lives, we go about seeing people, and some of whom we perhaps have a preference to hang around with, and some people perhaps maybe we do not vibe with very much. So it is possible to actually perhaps, because you mentioned that these cittas don't arise simultaneously together, the attachment and the aversion. So it is possible for us to try to sustain, like perhaps to sort of like exterminate the negative citta that arises from associating with perhaps unskillful company. Yeah.
Actually, when there are situations and when different cittas arise, what we do is we don't really have to really exterminate them. We just have to observe, and we know that this kind of citta is arising in the mind, because actually we can't do that. We can't actually destroy a citta or something. No, when it arises, the only thing we can do is we can know it when we observe it. And if we know that it is skillful, then we encourage more of those kind of citta to arise. Then we think, oh, this is good, I should do more of this. And when we know that it is unwholesome, then we try to avoid its further arising. No. But we cannot destroy what is already arisen. Actually, we don't need to, because it will pass away by itself. It arises and it is bound to pass away. We just have to know it and not encourage those kind of ideas or unwholesome states to continue rolling on again. That's what we can do. And that's also the right effort, being explained in the practice. The right effort is encouraging whatever wholesome that has already arisen to continue arising, or to make an effort to arise those that have not arisen yet, encourage those ones to arise, make an effort. Or another right effort is whatever is already arisen that is unwholesome, then we try to stop it from further arising, and to prevent whatever unwholesome that has not yet arisen at the moment. No?
Yes, definitely. So awareness of the cittas that have arisen.
Right.
Just bare awareness itself without further prompting ourselves to perpetuate those cittas.
Yes, just aware, just observe. And actually, wisdom, when there is awareness, we see what's happening. Then if there is wisdom as well, then wisdom does the job. Wisdom knows what to do. So the only thing we need to do is to cultivate awareness and to cultivate wisdom. No, how by studying as well, by practicing as well, by knowing what is wholesome, what isn't wholesome. If we don't know whether these cittas are good or not, then we cannot even, if we want to encourage what kind of citta, what kind of actions are skillful. No, so we just by practicing and by studying, then we get more information, then we put them into practice, then the wisdom knows what to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seems like there is no more question. Next Saturday, I have to go to Hong Kong, so I might not be able to connect internet for next Saturday. So actually, we will have to stop for 1 week, and I will see you in the next Saturday. Is that okay? All right.
Yes.
Okay, so during this week, if you have any questions concerning the content that we have already covered, just don't hesitate to send me an email, and I will reply to you either by email or in the next session. Then we can also discuss with everyone.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Yeah,
you're welcome. Yes, thank you for joining. Okay, so let's close.
Excellent.
Thank you. So let's close by sharing merits also. Itam no punyam nibbānassa paccayō hotu. Itam no punyam nibbānassa paccayō hotu. Itam no punyam nibbānassa paccayō hotu. Itam no punyam sabbāsatānam pājima. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. So may these merits of studying the Dhamma together be conditions of the attainment of Nibbana, and we share our merits with all beings. Okay, so see you next week. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
See you. You're welcome.
See you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.